booties for black girl nerds.
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with us. We're big nerds here, so we're really geeked out about this. We're really geeked about this show.
I love it. That makes two of us.
Awesome. Well, you are joining a very talented group of men playing the iconic Peter Parker. So while he does have a familiar storyline, can you tell me, like, what about your portrayal you want it to be different or stand out?
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting because like when this first came about, like my first reaction was to kind of just go back and like watch all the game tapes, right? Like be like, okay, like I gotta watch all the Spider-Man, do my homework, whatever. And then I quickly realized that like what makes all of these special is they're separated by time and they kind of all have had their moment, but have felt like very honest. And so I was like, how can I bring some honesty to this character, to this very young Peter Parker too? And the most helpful thing for me was like to go back and watch like videos. Like I grew up skateboarding, watch old skate videos and things that like excited me in high school to that level, and like really get back into my like youth and spazziness, you know?
And for me, one thing I do love about this series in particular is that it really harps on the whole idea of high school. I feel like some of the other ones they touched on it, but not as much as your series has. So this one is a fun one for me because I love hearing people's answers when I debate this with friends. So now that you're joining into the Spider-Man world, prior to, I imagine that you're a fan as well. So can you tell me what your favorite thing is about each of the Spider-Man from Tobey, Andrew, and Tom?
Oh man. Um, Toby's just like that. That's like the nostalgia for me. Like those are the ones that like when I hear the word Spider-Man, it's an image from one of those movies in my brain. So I guess the nostalgia and how new the Spider-Man character was for me at that age was like really dope. Andrew Garfield felt like he had like a little bit more like weight and gravitas to me. Uh, and then Tom, who it's funny, it's I would say like Toby is the most nostalgic one, but I think Tom is like my favorite Spider-Man. Like if I had to assign that other what than like the one that I grew up with. And I thought the physicality that Tom brought with all the like gymnastics and stuff was like really like singular and marked his performance.
Yeah, no, that's actually interesting to touch on that because I was thinking very much like he did more like stunts. I feel like there was more stunts
Yeah,
involved.
yeah, for sure.
I grew up with the Toby ones, but I found something each one of them individually that I liked. And with your series in particular, I like the mix of like old school comics, but it's like new elements like social media and like those type of things. So can you like walk us through like your initial like first day in the booth doing your voice work, like, oh my God, I'm part of this series. Like what were your initial thoughts when that first day came around?
Honestly, at first I was like really overwhelmed and like nervous, and I just it was such felt like such big shoes to fill. And then like very quickly, like as I don't know if you've interviewed Jeff, but as I met Jeff and Sarah Sherman and everyone at Marvel, people were so welcoming and like made me feel right at home, which like allowed me to kind of relax and like feel comfortable enough to like be a kid again, because it's like that's also vulnerable too, like kind of feeling young like that. So yeah, it was like really daunting, but kind of like that faded quickly.
That's good. It didn't sound, you didn't sound nervous at all, like in your voice work or anything. But there are some, like a lot of like plot twists that are fun. Obviously, we don't want to spoil them. But if you can remember each episode individually, which particular episode would you say like was your standout? Like, oh my God, this is my favorite one, and your fans should look for on Disney Plus when it comes out. Like which number?
The episode with Scorpion, the Scorpion battle, that's my favorite one. I think
Yeah,
there's
no, I
like
mean,
I
go
think there's
ahead.
a lot that happens for Spider-Man, but there's also a lot that happens for Peter as like a young man that he has to kind of make some decisions that I thought that one was really cool.
That's something that I'm glad that you guys incorporated into your series because we didn't get to see that on live action. So it's cool that we somehow, some way, still get that.
I know. I was stoked too. And that's the other thing. It's like I've never worked on anything where I'm just genuinely such a fan of it and like get to just come in and be like, what do I also like as an audience member get to watch this week? It's so cool.
Well, I'm glad the time flew by quickly. We finally get this. I remember when it first was announced, and I can't believe that we're finally here. We're finally getting to see this. I have to wait, of course, for my friends to see it. I got to see the episodes. I'm waiting for everyone else to get on board. But you did such a fantastic job. The nostalgia is there, the look is there. So you did great. Congratulations on a very successful series, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks. Nice to meet you.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for taking time to speak with us today. We're big nerds here, so we're excited about this series.
Same here.
Jeff, I'll start with you. The inclusion of current themes and technology like social media really make this the perfect series for today with the same look and feel from the older comic series. So with the current adaptation of Peter Parker, can you talk to me about the importance of staying true to the character all while still trying to remain unique?
Yeah, I think Peter means so much to so many people, and there's so many different incarnations of the story. We definitely wanted to pay homage to all the classics, be able to pull in all those references, but also like we want to modernize it. We didn't want it to be off-putting for today's audiences. We want to make sure that like if you grew up reading the comics in the 80s, if you watched the show in the 60s, if you've never seen Spider-Man at all until you see the show, it all feels like this is for me. So I think there was a bit of a balancing act, but I feel like we landed in a very nice space that is very inclusive for audiences.
I love that you use the word inclusive because that was one of the within the first episode, I was like, okay, this is going to be very inclusive. And I love that because we don't get to see that as often. So thank you for mentioning that. And Mel, the best way I can describe the visuals is like a comic book that was literally brought to life from the pages and is fairly different from current animated projects where they may be too like 2025. So it kind of reminds me of like Archer in some way, but on your creative vision board, were there any ideas or anything that the team wanted to incorporate?
I think you pretty much nailed it. That was our main goal, was bring back the Silver Age. I mean, use Silver Age comics as inspiration and make that into a moving picture. It's a moving comic book a moving Silver Age comic book was our goal, I would say specifically.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like that. It didn't seem too new, but it definitely paid homage to the nostalgia. And speaking on the nostalgia, the series is such a breath of fresh air because we're gifted with that sense of nostalgia from our childhood. So if we were manifesting a season 2, what would you each like to see explored a bit more? Jeff, I'll start with you.
I want to see Peter interact with more of those classic villains. I think season 1 does a great job of setting up a lot of people, and I'm looking forward to paying them off in a season 2 and beyond if given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I want Spider Buggy, but Jeff's not going to.
That's not a joke. He's always asking for it. I'm always like, no.
Well, why not?
You know, he doesn't drive yet. It's a weird area. He's got to get a license.
Well, Mel, I did spot some very recognizable Easter eggs from the comics. I think there was one in particular I felt like was an homage to like a particular comic book cover. I think that's what I remember seeing that. And I was wondering, did you have a specific number of things that you added in here to make sure that you made sure viewers caught?
Gosh, it wasn't a specific number, right? It was just, yeah, Jeff and I and everyone here at Marvel, every now and then, even the board artists would just on their own add little things, and Jeff and I would catch it like, that's a cool idea. Let's put it in there. Or the designers would signage on the wall, and for the longest time we won't see it, and then when we do recognize, we're like, that's awesome. That's genius. Let's keep it. Like, so everyone we hired were fans of Marvel Comics and the Marvel Universe, so it all worked out with the Easter eggs.
It came together beautifully, and as a person that remembers borderline almost where I was whenever it was announced that this series was coming, because I am a big Iron Man and Spider-Man fan, and I also like to see, I just don't remember where I was or how I was sitting down watching those comics. So now to be able to, at 33, be able to sit down and be like, okay, this is what I must have remembered at that time. It's such a like throwback, blast from the past. So you guys did a phenomenal job with bringing that out for us older that are not like the kids. Like, yeah, this older generation sitting down and watching this. It's fantastic. I can't wait for everyone to see it. And I really appreciate talking to you guys today.
Thank you so much.
nerds. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.